So here we are. You remember those tomatoes that we potted up, I guess, about 4 weeks ago? Well, voila, this is them. And these are the Sun Golds, a lot of people's favorite cherry tomato. And you can see they've produced a beautiful transplant. It's really not too terribly root bound. I would have loved to have planted these last week, but overall it's doing pretty good. Here in one of our high tunnels, we're gonna be growing about 220 tomato plants in here. So as you can see, I've laid out this landscape fabric, which is reusable, and have cut holes in them about 2 feet apart, roughly about how far apart I like to plant tomatoes. So these aren't flowering yet. So I know sometimes people pot up tomatoes and they don't get around to planting them till they're already flowered. If that's the case, you can go ahead and pinch your flowers off, and before you plant them, that way just the tomato knows that it's good to keep growing again and not necessarily having to get into the fruiting mode. So what I like to do, and if you remember from last video, the tomato will make roots all the way up the stem. So I like to plant it as deep as possible, which I'm getting this trowel in there and making a nice hole. If I know it's going to cover up some of this leaf matter, I often will just pinch a little bit of that off right before I plant. And I'll go ahead and get that tomato plant. Oh, one other thing. I love to break up the roots just a little bit. That way those roots can open up right into the soil, and the tomato plant does not mind having its roots disturbed. So I get that plant in, cover it up, get it pressed in. I already have irrigation running under this mat, and within the next day or so, we'll have 220 tomato plants in here. So we hope you join us in the future where we'll talk to you a little bit about pruning and trellising them, and let us know if you have any questions about tomato growing. Keep in mind, every tomato grower loves to do a little bit differently. Some people would put eggshells in their holes. This is a time where I wouldn't mind spraying a little fish emulsion on them or seaweed spray on them just for a little hit of fertility as they enter the ground. But experiment, find out what you like, find out what works well in your garden, and let us know. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.